All right, let's dive into the metaverse today and get into some of the big titans that are starting to battle it out, maybe what it looks like for both Apple and formerly Facebook, and how the metaverse may be playing out in a very big way. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Metaverse Insider. Joining me today is Mirko Dölger over from Unix Gaming, always having you guys on to give us some insights on where and what is happening in metaverse and gaming. So thanks for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's a nice sunny day in Germany, and it's a pleasure again to be on the show.
I like it. All right, so listen, Mirko, we're going to get into the first story today, and that is Apple, of course, leading the way. Goldman Sachs says Apple, Meta lead in developing the metaverse technology. There's a couple of things that are flowing into this. One, of course, is the VR headset and potentially an AR component. There are a couple of people that have kind of pointed to, in terms of analysts, that have kind of pointed to the true VR aspect of how headsets will most likely roll out, both for gaming, but also in use case scenarios for the metaverse. When you look at this, and you get a chance to look at, dozens, if not hundreds of games a quarter. When you think about games and the games that are trying to do things within the metaverse, how far away do you think we are to really seeing a true VR application that would be somewhat usable in a crypto-driven, blockchain-driven metaverse?
I think it still needs a long way to adapt because we saw that with the Oculus Rift or with other models that they just not have enough power basically to replicate a really a metaverse or let's say a virtual reality what looks so real that you might think you are in that world. So it was still like on low resolution with pixel and so on. So it still, of course, is the first step in the metaverse, but it still needs some time to to improve the technology. What we see already in mobile phones, what already happened in with graphic chips and so on. So I think it's still a few years to go, but VR and AR definitely are very important to get closer to kind of a Ready Player One experience. And
Right.
For me, always the interesting part is like, back in the days, everybody told you not to sit too close to the screen. And now we using goggles and, all this technology in front of our eyes. So it's like very interesting how the time changed, and yeah, but definitely. So back to the topic is like, yeah, VR, AR, super important. It's just a matter of evolution. I would say how the technology evolve. But we still stay excited. I think the current metaverse, let's say sandbox, where you just plug in with your mobile phone or with your computer, I think this is still and will be still the mass tool to use. And definitely there is a way to go forward. And Apple and especially the big players, they can of course aim also in these directions already because they have kind of, I would say, the liquidity for that, and of course the team or technology maybe to build that.
Yeah, I was looking at the article here. It says main race for VR is between Apple and Meta. This was the report from Goldman. Likely striving for an extension to its ecosystem, Meta is looking to build a base of users through attractive hardware pricing and so on. A couple of things play into this, though, with Apple. Obviously, Apple's strategy around how they acquire users and keep users, so loyal to their marketplace and to their ecosystem. Then you have Meta, which is really kind of not necessarily had that kind of love affair with their users. It becomes a utilitarian tool. Between the two, and if you look at also what Facebook or Meta is doing with the fees, which is another factor here. If you think about fees and you look at the ecosystems, do you feel like Apple could, and of course we haven't even seen anything coming out of Apple, so we don't know for sure what it's going to look like, but knowing what they've done in the past, do you feel like Apple could take the lead here in terms of metaverse development?
I think Apple, from the technology, I think they have been always innovative. If you think about iPhone, iPod, iMac, the first computers they built and so on. So I think it's definitely gonna be a very good adaptation on that side, because everybody who is an Apple fan might join then the Apple goggles, or the eye goggles, or eye view, or how they call it. So that's definitely on the technology side. I think Meta, just from because of they have a way larger community, right, with Instagram, Facebook, and so on. So on the tech side, Apple. On the infrastructure, I think Meta is definitely the one who will dominate in maybe a closed metaverse, or not an open metaverse. This is something what I really think that Meta, and especially with the high fees, 50% on transactions,
Yeah.
it's for me ridiculous. This is something maybe they're playing the monopoly here. We're having we are the biggest social media. That's why we charge whatever we want. But yeah, we will see at the end, the customer, the consumer will decide. And even if this really something what we will have in our daily life, then the user decide also where's the best place to be with the lowest fees, because Web3 is also not only about social media, right? It's about finance as well. So,
Yep.
and if I can lead my finances through my network, then I look for a cheap provider, and then maybe that
Hmm.
could be something where Facebook or Meta need to adjust there.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at Meta launching their first brick and mortar store. They announced this opening the Metaverse themed store at its campus in Burlingame. Customers are going to be able to purchase the virtual reality headsets, some video calling services, smart glasses. What are your thoughts on this? A Metaverse store. I mean, obviously, we know that Apple has had extreme success with their host store ecosystem. Do you think we'll see a store type ecosystem, or do you feel like this is just so old school to me based on what we're seeing with blockchain development and kind of the evolution of such a global community? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think ecom is already been looking for virtual shopping a
Yeah.
few years ago, and I think this is just an evolution on that side. And having a store, let's say a physical store, but also a virtual store where you basically can purchase all these products. I think this is definitely maybe at the moment not a must to have or must to go store.
Hmm.
But if you kind of a big brand like that, and we saw that, for example, Samsung, they built a store in Decentraland, and position at least one store, two stores maybe on the market with these kind of products or services. I think this is just a first step, and then once we see, maybe it really become necessary to expand, then they already have the concept, and they just replicate basically, or like a franchise, open across America, and then maybe the world, like more flagship stores. So I think it's strategic as a big company like them.
Yeah. Well, the virtual store side of it, I do, agree with the idea, though, I would think, is that the store is truly in the metaverse so that, people would be able to, utilize it and access it. Even though I think, for the entry point, for new players and or new people that are getting active in, these kinds of ecosystems,
Yeah.
obviously you're going to need some of the hardware. Some of those things will play into it. So
Yeah, I think
for
it's
sure.
at the moment it's more like a nice to have,
Yeah.
like people who really want to experience that, they go there. But this might be then, the place to go. Maybe in 2 3 years, shopping is becomes virtual, and you're not going in any physical stores anymore. So then that's already set up and built out. So I think that's again like they have the capacity to have several kind of beta projects.
All right, so I want to thank our sponsors today, and that, of course, is FTX. If you guys are looking to trade and you want to do it in a way in which you save a ton of money, they have some of the best rates for traders out there. A lot of other things are happening with FTX as well, and that, of course, is their NFT marketplace and a ton of access when you're looking at building a portfolio and you want to look at someone to build it on. FTX is definitely one of the places for you guys to go. Make sure and check out the link below to get access to some of the discounts for FTX. Help the channel out. Yeah, before we get into a couple of the new projects that are moving into Metaverse Plays here, Another big titan is Nike pulling out its first weapon to kind of go in head to head. And this is something that we've been kind of watching here on the show for quite some time. And that is the issue of potentially these big brands becoming a little bit predatory on upstarts. So there's this one right here. Nike started filing a lawsuit against StockX. This was a Detroit sneaker exchange, which is essentially saying that they infringed on their patents in terms of marketing NFT sneakers. So we get into a big company like Nike that is, and Artifact, obviously, with what they've done. But do you feel like the big guys could be kind of trying to pretty much draw lines in the sand within the metaverse itself, or stake a flag to kind of keep innovation and ideas out? What are your thoughts on this move by Nike?
I mean, for me, the best move was for Nike and Adidas. I think they're one of the pioneers also going into the metaverse with these sneakers or with an NFT drop. I think that's the. I mean, even we don't want to see that from the crypto side because we like these communities, we like the decentralization and so on, but they pushing it for a mass adoption, especially Nike. I wouldn't say there's a slowdown. It's more like giving more uh, um, awareness about the metaverse, and even it's not at all, let's say, paid in crypto, but the move in this direction. I think this is definitely the right strategy for these retail brands entering the metaverse.
Yeah. Well, I think the point being is that Nike is defending it, which to me is a good thing because they obviously see the future of where metaverse is leaning, what brands will look like and feel like within the metaverse, and especially around, just the success of what Artifact has been able to do so far in the NFT space. I think just shows the rest of the branding world that, the same rules somewhat apply here, is that IP is being protected. Nike's gone out with their first lawsuit against StockX on this. Obviously, StockX maybe was selling unauthorized images of the Artifact shoes. So I can see where all this is playing. The fact that they are defending against it is, I hate lawsuits, but at least it shows that a big company like Nike definitely sees this as a very serious and very formidable option in terms of growth. I also want to jump into Monkey League. They were selected here on being part of OpenSea's beta on Solana. This is going, again, Monkey League, another game, but now really evolving out through NFT integration. And what we'll see most likely is even more proliferation into the metaverse. What are your thoughts with Monkey League's movement so far in terms of how they've kind of transitioned as a team and kind of what they're doing overall as a project?
I think Monkey Ball, they have a very interesting niche, and this is not so common in the metaverse at the moment, like soccer, but more like a round based game. So it's not really like live; it's very strategic. They have a very, I think, especially if you think about Bored Apes, that they have monkeys as characters. I think definitely is super fun, and also the animations and movements of the characters are interesting. What they've done as a team, development wise, I think is pretty impressive. What they pulled out in since they basically on the radar, and also the transition from Monkey Ball to Monkey League, to give a more wider range on basically partnership sites and retail partnerships. And now the beta, and then I think it's a very good that they've been on OpenSea also with their monkeys, what is tradable, and very excited about the gameplay. And I think the team will see more success because it's again not live yet. It's a lot of leaks, and here we have a nice trailer, but I think when the first people start playing, and they have also a very interesting ecosystem. So I
Yeah.
think the OpenSea release now is definitely give the whole project a huge push.
Yeah, I was looking at the OpenSea, their project page, and 3,100 owners, floor price right around 4.6 Solana right now. Not bad, in essence. I mean, when you look at the overall, so I do, I think NFT strategies for a lot of these games are really kind of the no-brainer of going in this direction. I was actually a little bit disappointed in the creativity side of it because I kind of anticipated more creativity coming out of some of these games to kind of roll into a much more, interesting NFT as opposed to, the typical, we'll call it 3D slash, 2D UX look that they've done here so far. I'm really interested in how NFTs are developing because I think there's some, especially around utility aspect, not another show, but definitely something I want to cover with you in the future. But it is one I'm watching very closely, especially around Monkey League and what they're doing. Let's jump over to RedFox. So RFOX Vault Metaverse launches. Their MVP actually launched today. And I know that we haven't seen the footage just yet. RedFox and Benny have promised us to get footage of what's happening with the beta. We're hoping to get access to it. What are your thoughts on RedFox with the preliminary view that you guys have taken a look over at Unix?
I mean, really, like we very very interested in what they coming up with in the end. They've been super, I think, under the radar for a very long time, but then they I think they didn't came up with too many promises or too many expectations in the beginning, and now with the MVP release, I think it's really interesting what they're building, and the footage. Now we see only images, and I think what you see is already is very advanced, and yeah, it's definitely a metaverse we have to deep dive into, and really trying to explore and catch the experience, because at the end a project is always is one thing, right? And the experience you will have then in the game or in the metaverse, this is what keeps people staying, right? Because a game
Yeah.
or a metaverse what don't attract you or don't make fun is is hard to maintain, I would say, because at the end the community decide to stay. But Red Fox, they have, I mean, awesome graphics. So very excited
Yeah,
what the actual, yeah.
Yeah, the graphics were great. We had Benny on the show not too long ago. He revealed to us quite a bit of this, what we're seeing now with the beta release. So, the anticipation is there. We're hoping to see some live footage from the metaverse side of it. In looking at their release, it says, in addition, the shop owners, this is within, the metaverse, and we talked a little bit about this on the show with him. Shop owners will be able to add up to 20 multi-chain NFTs to their virtual spaces. They also can, customize their shops in the metaverse, including titles, banners, etc. So purchase NFTs on other blockchains, new shop interiors and customizations, update shop exteriors, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got introduction of the Red Fox avatar system and enhanced avatar movements, which is, that one to me is the area that I'm really intrigued with on how this may roll out, because this is something new that we have seen to a certain extent within Sandbox, but not completely, other than selected creators. But with Red Fox, if they truly execute on this, on building e-commerce within the system, this could be one of the first ones we've seen out there to really execute on this. What are your thoughts in terms of the future of where e-commerce virtual shops are going to be going?
I think they're focusing on a very particular part. Not saying we have a metaverse what gives you all experience in one: gaming, surfing, shopping, kino,
Right.
cinema, whatever. So I think that's definitely a good way to approach a certain niche, and then also basically guide new users into their metaverse. I'm very interested in what they're saying about the 20, let's say, blockchains, because this is at the end a very difficult part to do. So I hear many times, okay, we're building a layer zero metaverse what can communicate among all
Right.
blockchains, and this is something I see very very difficult at the moment still. But if they announce 20 blockchains, that's already a statement. If they can deliver, I'm very excited, because that would be really an open metaverse. If you think, I think one of the largest projects at the moment, they're looking at maybe 3 to 4, 5 chains. If you think about OpenSea as a huge project, and they just recently got into Solana, and long time there was only Ethereum and then Polygon.
Yep.
So and this is something, it's a huge statement, but from tech team wise, I think they have a very established team, and looking forward what they really building. And the blockchains, it's really could be something for an open metaverse, because if you can transfer your NFT among 20 blockchains, that's the key actually about
Yeah.
the metaverse, is what we're talking always. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an ultimate application use case that many people are talking about in terms of interoperability for sure. All right, last topic here, Mirko, and that is the growth of the overall sector. We continue to see data and research pouring out of the market, looking at Metaverse as a long-term play. This is one coming in from Market Insights. Metaverse market estimated at around $947 billion by 2030, a 30% growth rate forecast period. This was pretty intriguing to me in looking at the Metaverse market growth. Obviously, here we are in 2022 at a very nascent level, and the potential of really blowing this out in what is 8 years, a very fast ascension here. They assume that we're going to see a lot in the way of VR growth and integration in that process. Do you think that's where it's going to come from, or do you think it's going to lean more toward gaming?
I think in general, I think the estimation of 8 years is pretty, I would say, accurate. I mean, like, I don't know about the numbers, of course, it's speculation, but if you see how the gaming space or just the internet, the growth happened. And at that time, it was also a little bit about the speed of the internet, right? What is already, let's say, solved. But the technical side, especially integrating traditional markets with blockchains, I think this is something new. But also there, of course, there's pioneers, there's large companies that are working on solutions. And I think the virtual shopping, especially with COVID, there was more and more people actually adapted, like to be at home, shopping from home, having meetings, working from home. So it's actually something what, I mean, like, we should still go out, right? But as more we can spend in the metaverse, you will see more and more people spending the time there, and it's easy, one click buy. And when you have an awesome experience, then you're more easily to buy something. So this projection was basically on the whole metaverse, right? It wasn't in specific niches. So, and that's why it's covered. It was covering VR, AR, gaming, shopping, all that stuff. So that's why I think the growth in all sectors of the metaverse, I think this is definitely, I'm pretty sure it can be even higher after, maybe even after 5 years. Depends really on how the market is, which traditional companies pushing more and more people into the metaverse with their products, with their brands, because it's all about brand identity, right? So if my favorite brand goes in the metaverse, I follow. So, and this is something what if there's everybody really see that as a future, then I think we see a faster adoption in 5 years.
Yeah. And the key for me is there's always those lead out sectors. This has happened in every major tech sector that we've had in the past 25 years, is there's always lead sectors that kind of guide the space. And in some cases, now granted, the one big difference now is that we've got titans out there in the industry, whether it's Apple or Meta, or we see some other activities from other tech companies coming in. Now you've got, the play with Elon and Twitter. Twitter could come in and make a play for Metaverse in terms of payments. We could see a lot of integrations really in terms of evolution. But in the past, it's always been a handful of sectors that have led it out. And I still lean in on crypto gaming as probably going to be one of the biggest category leaders, at least in the early days, because it's something you can do to a certain extent right now, for sure. Definitely going to be fun to watch for sure. Mirko, I'd love to have you back on the show. We'll definitely dive in deeper on the metaverse for sure. But thanks again for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. See you. Bye-bye.
All right, so you guys are tuned in right here on the podcast side of things. Make sure and jump over to our other podcast, and that is TechPath Crypto. You can also catch all of these shows right here on YouTube, and it's the place where you get a lot, all these graphics, a lot of our insights and analysis on tokens. And of course, if you want to catch me, it's out on Twitter at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.